Vaishnav weekend retreat, and we'll discuss a bit more later on this morning. But since many of the devotees are here for the first time, the morning program basically is as follows. We have Bhagavatam now, and that goes till about 7 o'clock. From 7 to 7:30 is like japa time, and this gives sufficient time for our pujaris to prepare for the darshanarati, which takes place at 7:30. So 7:30 is darshanarati, followed immediately by Guru Puja, right? 7:30 Guru Puja, 7:30 darshan, then Guru Puja, and that takes us close to 8 o'clock, which basically ends our morning program. So that is our morning program every day, and we're continuing during the weekend as well. And later on, there'll be maybe more details in terms of what else will be taking place. 9 o'clock, I believe, I stand to be corrected, but 9 o'clock normally is prasadam, one of the favorite moments of the devotees during the day, and it happens at least twice, sometimes 3 times. So 9 o'clock, I believe the sessions, the morning sessions begin actually, where's our Achyutananda Prabhu? He was with you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, he must be tired. Yeah, 10 o'clock, I believe, is all the activities will be happening here in this building. This building is called Gita Patshala, by the way. It's meant to be and will be our Gurukul in due course of time. And so at 10 o'clock, I believe it's 10 o'clock, right? Sanatan Goswami Prabhu Ji. I believe it's 10 o'clock. We'll reconfirm later on if it's not coming up right now. 10 o'clock. Yeah, 10 o'clock is what, like...
10 o'clock is the attendance, welcome session and registration.
Welcome address at 10 o'clock, and I believe 10:45 is the first lecture or whatever, discourse.
11 to 12 classes.
Yeah, so because more devotees are expected later on this morning, so as not to repeat too much, we will save some of the details for later on. I think probably best time will be, because that's when we see most people during prasadam. If you want to know how many people are attending your function, just count how many plates of prasadam are going out. Yeah. So we want to welcome our Dal Mukunda Prabhu, who is here. Rare appearance in the morning for Mangalarti. Actually, Dal Mukunda Prabhu is one of our board of directors for what we call VCF. VCF means Varnashram College Foundation. So this whole project is actually under the Varnashram College Foundation, and we will be speaking a bit more about that later on, actually. It might be part of the presentations during the 2-day event. So we will carry on activities, details of which will be shared a little bit later on, I believe till tomorrow afternoon. If anyone, especially those who are just coming now, needs anything in particular or has any particular question or whatever it may be, we can see our appointed temple commander, whose hand is coming up right now. Hey. His name is Aravind, yes. So if you need anything, he's your contact person. Don't ask him too many difficult questions. Of course, he can answer all questions. quite capable. But we've done this a few times. I was not here in the last few months. We've had 2 such weekend programs, and the main person, actually, devotee, who has been instrumental in working quite hard, actually, to make this happen. There are 2 of them, actually. Well, the main person is, who's not here right now because he's quite exhausted, Ashutnanda Prabhu, who's based in Calcutta. I think many of you know him. And, of course, our Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, he is working behind the scenes, traveling and preaching in West Bengal since many years. So anyways, later on we'll be introducing different devotees. Otherwise our whole Bhagavatam class will go. So we want to have our Bhagavatam class, and then other details, other information will be shared later on. Any other quick, last minute, whatever, in case I missed something? Okay. Yes. One thing is, we have garden which has nice flowers. So we request everyone just to have darshan of the flowers, not not to pick flowers, unless you are authorized. And we have a few people taking pictures here and there, so we might catch you on the scene. So anyways, because we don't have that many flowers also, and so of course usually devotees are just walking in the gardens and, Okay, Mridanga. And at least 1 or 2 devotees playing kartals, right? Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Jamuna Tira Vana Sari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhan Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhan Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhan Hari Yashodanandana Brajadanandana Yashodanandana Brajadanandana Jamuna Tira Vanantari Jamuna Tira Vanantari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada Gaur Premanande Jai Mishupad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charan Arvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Skandibiti Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Samavata Bhakta Vrinda ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Danitai Gaura Primanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada ki. One thing which crosses my mind, translation. You're in charge of translation, right? Huh? Yeah. So maybe best thing is that you sit somewhere where those who cannot follow English, right? So that. Om Ajnanatirandasya Gyananjana Sharakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagragatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabrutam Parikana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanditam Scha Hai Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Dharam Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Sojaya Mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayasa badrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nisreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantara, as the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Mukam karoti vasanam pangum langayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Welcome once again everyone to our morning Bhagavatam discourse. We are reading from Canto number 1, chapter 16, just beginning this chapter yesterday actually, entitled How Parīkṣit Received the Age of Kali. How Parīkṣit received the age of Kali, and today we're looking at text number 2, for those who have the blackboard is the cell phone mostly. Okay. Sa Uttarasya Tanayam Upayema Irāvatīm Janamejayadims Chaturas Tasyam Utpadayat Sutan Sa Uttarasya Tanayam Upayema Irāvatīm Janamejayadims Chaturas Janamejayadims Chaturas Tasyam Utpadayat Sutan Sa Uttarasya Tanayam Upayema Irāvatīm Janamejayadims Chaturas Tasyam Utpadayat Sutan Sa Uttarasya Tanayam Upayema Irāvatīm Janamejayadims Chaturas Tasyam Utpadayat Sutan Sa Uttarasya Tanayam Upayema Irāvatīm Janamejayadims Chaturas Tasyam Utpadayat Sutan Sa Uttarasya Tanayam Upayema Irāvatīm Janamejayadims Chaturas Tasyam Utpadayat Sutan Sa Uttarasya Tanayam Upayema Irāvatīm Janamejayadims Chaturas Tasyam Utpadayat Saha He Uttarasya, the King Uttara,
King Uttara,
Tanayam, daughter, Upayeme, married, Irāvatīm, Irāvatī, Janamejaya Adin, headed by Maharāja Janamejaya. Chaturaha, four, tasyam, in her, utpadayat, begot, sutan, sons. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Raghava Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. King Parīkṣit married the daughter of King Uttara and begot 4 sons headed by Maharāja Janamejaya. Can you repeat after me? King Parīkṣit married the daughter of King Uttara and begot 4 sons headed by Maharāja Janamejaya. Purport. Maharāja Uttara was the son of Virata and maternal uncle of Maharāja Parīkṣit. Irāvatī, being the daughter of Maharāja Uttara, was the cousin sister of Maharāja Parīkṣit. But cousin brothers and sisters were allowed to get married if they did not belong to the same gotra or family. In the Vedic system of marriage, the importance of the gotra or family was stressed. Arjuna also married Subhadra, although she was his maternal cousin sister. Janamejaya, one of the Rajarsi kings and the famous son of Maharāja Parīkṣit. His mother's name was Irāvatī, and according to some, Madravati. Maharāja Janamejaya begot 2 sons of the names Gyatanika and Shankukarna. He celebrated several sacrifices in the Kurukshetra pilgrimage site, and he had 3 younger brothers named Shutrasena, Ugrasena, and Bhimasena. 2.
Junior.
Yeah, Bhimasena 2. He invaded Takshala, Ajanta. Where is Takshala? Anyone know?
Takshashila is
Maharashtra.
Maharashtra, Ajanta caves are there. Yeah. So that's like Maharashtra.
Maharashtra side. Okay. And he decided to avenge the unlawful curse upon his great father, Maharāja Parīkṣit. He performed a great sacrifice called Sarpajagya to kill the race of serpents, including the Takshaka, which had bitten his father to death. On request from many influential demigods and sages, he had to change his decision to kill the race of snakes. But despite stopping the sacrifice, he satisfied everyone concerned in the sacrifice by rewarding them properly. In the ceremony, Mahamuni Vyasadeva also was present, and he personally narrated the history of the Battle of Kurukshetra before the king. Later on, by the order of Vyasadeva, his disciple Vaishampayana narrated before the king the subject matter of Mahabharata. He was much affected by his great father's untimely death and was very anxious to see him again. And he expressed his desire before the great sage Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva also fulfilled his desire. His father was present before him, and he worshipped him, and he worshipped both his father and Vyasadeva with great respect and pomp. Being fully satisfied, he most munificently gave charity to the brahmanas present at the sacrifice. Translation again. King Parīkṣit married the daughter of King Uttara and begot 4 sons, headed by Maharāja Janamejaya. So, we get a little glimpse of the activities of very great personalities. The whole Mahabharata actually is filled with such descriptions. This was during the days when Vedic culture was, we could say, at its peak. Vedic culture, the whole purpose of the Battle of Kurukshetra, of course, was to reestablish the saintly king, Yudhishthira Maharaj. But although Yudhishthira Maharaj was not ruling for many years, it was due to, I guess you call it, political intrigues. It was Dhritarashtra who was ruling, and then the whole Battle of Kurukshetra was arranged, especially it was ordained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Krishna, so that a rightful king in the name of Yudhishthira Maharaj could be established. We hear in the purport Prabhupada mentioning how personalities, Parīkṣit Maharaj was enthroned after the Battle of Kurukshetra. He ruled, how many years did we finally decide? Not that we decide, but we were discussing yesterday at what age Parīkṣit Maharaj began ruling and for how many years he ruled.
Huh? He was 50 years old and he started.
Yeah, correct. We established means we could understand that he began to rule immediately after Yudhishthira Maharaj voluntarily stepped down after hearing of Lord Krishna's departure, which means that he was 30 years of age. So those, we get some understanding of how powerful were many of these personalities. either as brahmanas or either as kshatriyas. And one of the important points which came out in yesterday's discussions, and of course, which is also here, is that great personalities who were entrusted leadership of not only nations, but in the case of Parīkṣit Maharaj, of the entire world. These, although they were extremely powerful, they still respected and followed the good guidance of brahmanas. And these two personalities means brahmanas and kshatriyas. They are meant to be, and they are actually, when Vedic culture is properly followed, they are the most important rulers within society, and they rule based on the principles of dharma, for which they have been trained for many, many years. I mean, how many years did the Pandavas go away and get trained under Dronacharya? Many years, no? They were young boys, and they came back as young men. Yeah. So, training is one of the very fundamental principles, actually, in the Vedic culture. And when we read some of the, well, it's part of the curriculum, actually. There is curriculum, Vedic curriculum, which is very detailed, and which, unfortunately, in modern day society, not followed. But it means that there are, just like here, there's mention of marriage and gotra. So, of course, nowadays, marriage is, and the whole concept of family life, largely because we have deviated from the basic principles of dharma, is very seriously threatened, as we know, all over the world. You know, the whole concept of family life. The point being that there are guidelines, there are very scientific systems that make up our Vedic culture, that make up the other principles of dharma, and these are not so easily understood, and require that one receive, proper training and education, which is actually the main purpose, the main reason why Srila Prabhupada went to the Western countries, was to begin, we could say, the process by which to reintroduce such type of training and education. Training and education, the whole topic of education in itself, we will be discussing it on the weekend a little bit. It's a very involved subject matter, which is, when we speak of education, of course, we know as devotees that the culmination of education and the perfection of education. One is considered, we could say, in our Vedic standard, one is considered perfectly educated if he knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the perfection, actually, of education. But there is a whole system, there's a whole process, there's a whole science, both in terms of spiritual education as well as material education. And as a matter of fact, that is one of the four pillars in the Vedic culture. Vedic culture is especially based on four sciences, one of which is the science of education, isn't it? And that is why Srila Prabhupada many years ago spoke of the need to introduce these four sciences. When he spoke about establishing Varnashram College, Prabhupada wanted that we systematically, methodically introduce these two levels of education. Two levels of education means dharma, the principles of dharma can only be properly understood and followed if if one systematically is introduced to what is presented in the Shastra. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada's, we could say, standing order. What is the meaning of a standing order?
Order is to be followed.
Huh?
Followed in every situation.
Meant to be followed. Another yeah, means it's still standing. Still needs attention. A standing order means it's something that is relevant. That is relevant. It was relevant like 50 years ago when Prabhupada actually gave that instruction. And it is, in many ways, even more so relevant today. Because it is only within that whole concept, as explained by Srila Prabhupada, of Varnashram College, that we can, for example, learn the whole science of how to become a qualified leader in society. We see in this verse how Janamejaya was extremely qualified, very powerful. Of course, he went maybe a little bit to an extreme by wanting to wipe out all of the, all of the reptiles or snakes, because he understood the greatness. This is important point. He understood the greatness of his father, Parīkṣit Maharāja. In other words, when we follow the systems that are given, when we take up the kind of training and education, and this was very much the great expectation of Srila Prabhupada, we can expect to see very powerful personalities. The world today, I think it's been the situation for many years, is in dire need of qualified leaders. And who are the natural qualified leaders in society, according to Vedic culture? Who are the natural qualified leaders? There are three numbers. They're referred to as the Dvijas. The Dvijas, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, they are the natural leaders in society.
And Vaishnavas.
Huh?
And Vaishnavas.
Vaishnavas, yes. Vaishnavas are natural leaders when they are qualified as Vaishnavas. So for the social arrangement in society, these three particular leaders are extremely important. Not only important, they are essential. They are essential. And I mean, just imagine, of course, yes, if one is actually Vaishnava, one will understand. There's a purport. There are different purports, many of them actually, throughout the Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada makes very strong statements, and and because there's quite a few of them, we sometimes lose them. Lose them means that they are hidden. The point being that Srila Prabhupada, as our foremost representative of Mahaprabhu's lineage and mission, was very clear on this point, more so than anyone else, we could say, in wanting to not only instruct and give training for people to become, let's say, Vaishnavas or Vaishnava devotees, but he also wanted and understood the importance and the need to train our devotees and to train society based on what is the standard system. What is the standard system for a society to be properly functioning, to be properly organized. And it begins actually with training these three leaders. In other words, we cannot have a society that will function properly if we only have qualified brahmanas. There is an absolute need, more so than ever before, to have qualified kshatriyas and qualified vaishyas. Because the vaishyas, they're the ones who are especially connected with what is happening with cows and the land. And we know that because we are totally lacking in modern day society, these two levels, we're lacking, isn't it? Qualified kshatriyas and qualified vaishyas. Therefore, the whole of society is in total chaos, practically. So therefore, that question was asked a number of times to Srila Prabhupada, how to revive, how to reinstate, or how to reestablish. And that's like a major question that is still there. It was asked during Prabhupada's time, and it is still there in the minds of many devotees. I would say the majority of the devotees, those who even bothered to ask the question. Because many people don't even ask the question, although the question needs to be asked. Well, how to do this? Isn't it? Because the more we are remaining distant from and separated from what is meant to be the norm, then it's a simple, it's a formula for more and more chaos in the world. So in other words, there's a need for more of our devotees to understand this point of giving proper importance, proper attention to training such individuals. And in many ways, that's why this building, not only the building, but the whole project in itself, is attempting to give special focus and attention. And that's why we're having this weekend retreat, actually, to try and bring to the forefront why it is so vital and important. Many years ago, I think, especially those who've been around for some time will have heard this particular anecdote of when Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan in his last weeks, actually. In his last weeks before actually leaving, he had called for one devotee in the middle of the night, which was very unusual. One prominent devotee at that time, very close to Srila Prabhupada, Giriraj. He was Prabhu at that time, yeah. So somebody came and woke him up, middle of the night, 1 o'clock, something like that. The Prabhupada wants to see you. Prabhupada wants to see me, my God, So he rushes over because everyone knows in Vrindavan, Prabhupada he can leave any time. So he rushes over to Srila Prabhupada's side, and then Srila Prabhupada begins to speak to him, and he asks him a question. Because Giriraj has been with him for many, many years and knows about the mission, etc. So then the question that Prabhupada is asking, do you think that this movement will continue? What is needed for this movement to continue after I leave my body? And Giriraj, who's a very intelligent person, he replies, yes, movement will continue as long as devotees continue to chant the holy name and follow the principles, which is like basic in our Krishna consciousness and basic to re-establishing the Vedic culture. So after replying in this way, then Prabhupada responds, yes, that is, of course, important. But there are two things that are needed for this movement to continue. And Prabhupada mentioned, one is intelligence and organization, or planning and organization. So, organization actually is the domain of Kshatriyas. There are three main duties or areas of responsibilities for Kshatriyas: protection, administration, and welfare. And all of them, to understand all of these three, one has to spend actually many years because it's very much detailed. So organization means qualified Kshatriyas. And then planning, intelligence, that's the domain of Brahmanas. Unless we have very thoughtful, very learned, qualified Pandits, Brahmana means Pandit, who knows, who spends actually hours and hours every day in Shastra, awake and eager to learn and to read more and to study. Such are very rare, but that is actually the real meaning and understanding of Brahmana. So we get, when we read the sections of the Bhagavatam, we get a little understanding of what are the qualities of the Brahmanas by studying their different activities and uh, and the same as well in terms of kshatriyas. So this this is the beginning of this section where, as the story unfolds, then the title, of course, is in reference to how Parīkṣit Maharaj, that's the title, how Parīkṣit received the age of Kali. Um, so we'll be continuing on this in the next, tomorrow basically. Some comments or questions on what was in the purport or what we have? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
Srila Prabhupada in the purport indirectly points out that in the Vedic system, marriage between two same gotras is not valid.
It's not indirectly, it's directly. It's directly what it is.
So we see that when someone takes Diksha, Vaishnavi Diksha, he gets the gotra of his guru. And suppose a devotee marries another devotee and they are of disciple of same guru, and their gotra is same. Then
That's quite interesting observation.
We have yet to establish varnashram colleges that's a whole topic, and as I mentioned, actually, the some of the principles that are described in the Shastra, they they require to be very closely studied, and we also need to understand that there is such a thing as Kaladesha Patra. Sometimes what may be recommended due to certain situations may not always be followed, but that does not give, what is it, that doesn't mean that we just don't follow what is there in the Shastra. So there are certain things which require more, I would say, deep study, and that's again the purpose, because our systematic study of many topics in relation to whether it's Gotra, we have within our society, even after 50 years, many questions about Diksha. Forget about Gotra, We're still trying to clarify the whole subject. It's a real and main issue within the society. And that can only become more easily understood, that can only become clarified when we have individuals who are actually very deeply learned in the subject matters. So I cannot comment more than that at this point. Yeah.
May I comment on this?
Yeah. Yes.
This is a very interesting question. Yeah. Gotras actually now, since we are with modern technology, we understand about DNA and all this. So Gotras started from all these different Prajapatis, from all the different rishis. So those rishis, they had the lineage And from that Bharadwaj, Bhargav, Kashyap, so you know that, all of the Indian people, they actually know
They're connected
from
to some
which line
Gotra.
they are coming. So that is actually relating to the genetic. And if you know that now the modern science is saying that there may be genetical inbreeding, that's called. In animals also we call it inbreeding. So that doesn't give a good progeny. Actually, it's very scientific, the whole this thing of following the Gotra. Whereas what you are asking is more even beyond that, it's higher. So it's in certain way changing the Gotra, but it's not about genetics. So what Prabhupada is mentioning is about Varnashram actually. Within the Varnashram society, but what you are speaking is beyond that, it's Vaishnavism. So you are going beyond that thing. So there it will not apply, this thing, what you are saying, that same Guru, so it won't, they are not contradictory. Because here you are not changing genetics. But in that, what I understood is that's my understanding now, that even though there may be two disciples, but it is better to see the Gotras, where they are coming from, and then not to mix. That was recommended from the ancient time, that not to mix. But now it's totally too much mixed, over mixed. Like, we have got different. So this whole Vivaha system is very scientific, and it was even, there are many recommendations in different Bhavishya Puran, in other places you can read. So that's what I'll just conclude, that what Maharaj was saying, that Brahmanas are meant to study. Why? Because Brahmanas are meant to, when Kshatriyas come, Vaishyas come with a problem, they know where is the solution as per the scripture.
Yes.
So this is
Yeah. What we are, that is good observation. What we are endeavoring to do, I mean, we speak about the Vedic culture. Vedic culture, unless, the whole the purpose of the Vedic culture is to elevate people, isn't it? In the first stage, to elevate them from the lower modes of nature to at least the mode of goodness. That's like preliminary. Yeah, right. Prabhupada mentioned, unless Varnashram is established, one is not even considered civilized. Civilization begins by following the basics, isn't it? Now, as Dayal Mukunda Prabhu rightly mentioned, we are so far removed from the basics, especially outside of India. Gotra?
there is no such thing like that.
Right, there's no Gotra. Many people are totally out of the whole Vedic realm, off the radar, right? So, so it will take some time. The descriptions are there. For example, how Brahmanas, that was the system before. Marriage was within people of the same caste also. And that's why at least we recommend, for example, that a devotee marries a devotee, minimum.
And it's better with Gunakaram matching.
Well, yeah, there's a whole recommended process as well. There should be proper charts made, etc. The Vedic culture, as we know, especially those from India, generally that responsibility was on the part of the parents, who would spend a couple of years or more to match and to understand, the compatibility, what is most ideal and most suitable for the marriage of their young daughter or son. Yeah. So, it will take some time, and one of the fundamental aspects, I would say, is that unless we have such type of educational institutions as wanted by Srila Prabhupada so many years ago. Uh, it's like, we may say Prabhupada did at times also minimize the importance of astrology, but at the same time also recognize that it is a bona fide and important science when one is actually qualified. Otherwise, we won't know when is Ekadasi. We won't know so many things if we don't have basic understanding of astrology. So these things, in other words, there's so many material sciences that are extremely important for us to do things properly. How to grow food is a material science. How to look after cows, these are all material sciences. How to look after one's body in terms of health. So they're not the ultimate goal of life, but they are playing a very important role. And what needs to be done is to actually introduce, which is something lacking at present, more of a balance in terms of our spiritual pursuit, which is our primary goal and objective, and at the same time there are material pursuits in terms of meeting our basic needs and necessities of life. So yeah, I'm sure there will be similar topics and similar questions to address. And I would say the answer to these questions will become more clarified as we have more individuals, devotees, who are actually able to bring up references from Shastra, etc. Number one, and secondly, taking into consideration where we are in terms of how successful we are in introducing the basic concepts and principles. Yes.
At the end of the purport is written that Janamejaya Maharaj wanted to see his father,
Yeah.
and it happened.
Yeah.
But we say that no one is coming back after and home back to Godhead.
Yes.
So how is the two can be put together and understand that he doesn't come back, but he comes back if someone beloved person. I have to come back if my son wants me to see. So what happened then? In the same body, of course, because I think the Parīkṣit Maharaj have this 60 years old body, so he came back in this body. So how is possible?
Well, it's not necessarily that he came back in a material body.
Then how Janamejaya recognized him?
How everyone can see Krishna when he appears 5,000. Krishna appears 5,000 years ago, and he's not material. So how people can see him?
Yeah, but this is his Swarup. Parīkṣit Maharaj has no 60 years old Swarup.
The idea is that when one is liberated, we hear about how in the spiritual world, living entity can, even in the material world, yogis can appear at different places, up to, limited. So, but the living entity liberated in the spiritual world can take on different forms, and it's like Narada Muni. Narada Muni is constantly appearing simultaneously. I mean, not simultaneously, but he's sometimes in the spiritual world and sometimes in the material world. He's described as, he's in his spiritual body, but people see him.
Actually, he requested Vyasadeva about that. What I understood is that he requested Vyasadeva, I want to see. And Vyasadeva arranged. The whole thing was arranged by Vyasadeva. And then he worshipped. So what I understood what you are saying, that he went back and how we can come. What I have studied is that when the soul is liberated, they have got all opportunity to assume whatever form, and they can come. And even simultaneously, I have read somewhere that even simultaneously they can exist at two places.
Yeah, that's
That's also
mentioned in
possible.
Brahma Samhita.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
It's not just, these are the quality of Lord. So in a smaller level, they come to those elevated souls, they are there. And example to that is Hanumanji. Hanumanji is already, he is in this material world because he is one of the Chiranjeevi, 8 Chiranjeevas. So he is there, existing. At the same time, he can be in the abode of Lord Ram. He is there. Then he can be simultaneously in wherever the Ram Katha is going on. So that because Lord has that quality, his pure devotee has got those qualities. They get those qualities. Being Parīkṣit Maharaj, heard this and already liberated, I think that Vyasdeva could arrange even with that because he is worshipping. He said that he worshipped them. And references are there actually. That's the thing. I'm just listening this whole thing. That why this education is required, because there are multiple references in many places
Hidden.
about various things which are to this material world, which applies to the material world. Like what Maharaj was saying that body is important. All these things are recorded. They are not ultimate goals, but they are also. So sometimes what happens as devotees, we start studying, then we go to the other extreme that nothing is required. All the marriage system, all these rituals, they are like too much. We kind of negate them. That's wrong. That is something like a brahmachari says that I am going to dedicate my full body to the mission, and I'm not going to take care of it. So I'm not going to do any exercise, anything, any health thing. And then what happens? So any devotee, I'm saying that brahmacharis are more like dedicated fully. So they completely sometimes may not look for their own body, and then that backfires.
Purnita Prabhu is concerned about having to come back and go through Janma Mrityu Jara. Somebody might call me back.
If a pure devotee will call you back, then.
Yeah, I heard also that in Srimad Bhagavatam Canto, and Gopakumar was staying in the gate before he could enter to have darshan to Lord of Vaikuntha, Narayan. So he was purposefully kept them in the gate.
At the gate.
And he so many souls came out and went to the material world to preach. And they took different forms according to their preaching mission. And they looked like some demons, looked like some demigods, looked like some human beings. And they came for preaching, and they got these different bodies for the preaching mission. And that doesn't mean they changed their identity.
It's not they are falling down.
They use it.
They're not falling.
And when they came back, someone came back very hastily. He kept that form which was using for preaching. So I think that's also
a reference, because it's not falling down. It's not coming back.
Right.
But
not forced to come back, but pleasure to support that person in that form which is suitable for that person who is asking that support.
Right. Vyasdeva also he is existing, one of the Chiranjeevi. Vyasdeva, if you approach Vyasdeva, we can actually, you can go. Madhvacharya.
Yeah. He's there in the Himalayas.
He went all
at darshan.
To see Vyasdeva.
Yeah. Prabhupada mentions in Bhagavatam how there's so many living entities are waiting for next, Satya Yuga to begin.
Yes.
They're waiting for Kali Yuga to just,
Actually, this time which we are in is very fortunate time. This is something like a window.
Yeah.
Where so much concession is given, and you can actually do a lot of spiritual progress easily. Because upcoming time,
yes,
which we can see the signs now, what is happening.
Yes, yeah. Therefore, Prabhupada reminded us, finish your business soon, before the Leela of Mahaprabhu. It's a window of opportunity, correct? Yeah, yeah. Because Kali Yuga, normally Kali Yuga is just hellish. I mean, but this Kali Yuga is special. But most Kali Yugas, it's like, you're just...
Yeah, Mahaprabhu is not coming.
Right.
So,
Yeah, correct.
Harinam Sankirtan.
yeah,
Because
Correct.
Mahaprabhu is here, but if you don't follow,
when Maharaj was speaking, you gave a question, I was thinking that how interesting now, without knowing Gotra, so many people are doing the most sublime thing, Harinam Sankirtan, all over the world. When it was happening, even not 5,000 years back.
Correct.
When the Kali Yuga started, it was not like in all the Western and other countries, Harinam Sankirtan was happening.
Yeah.
Mahaprabhu gave that.
There are miracles happening every moment. Yeah, it's a miracle, practically speaking. Yes.
I just want to thank you, Maharaj, for establishing these, the most profound need of education, of establishing their dharma, because otherwise this has lost. Now there is a possibility, and because of your results, it's happening, I can see. Maybe it may be looking like something, as Prabhupada was sitting in 1965 in a small room and saying our society will call International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So we are maybe in a small place, but it's the start of something very big.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Inspiring all of us.
Any other? Quick. Yes, Mr. Prince.
महाराज जी ने
Any bolo? English, you can.
You speak in English, I will tell you. He has got a long question.
Oh, okay. If it's a long question, okay.
महाराज जी ने बोला कि जो क्षत्रिय का जो धर्म होता है उसका मतलब 3 मेन काम होता है, एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन और प्रोटेक्शन एंड वेलफेयर, है ना। और तो जो राजा ये जन्मजय ने जो सर्प यज्ञ किया था, तो वो धर्म होता है या धर्म हो या अधर्म, क्योंकि उसमें जो सर्प है, जो सांप, क्योंकि एक राजा का धर्म है कि वहाँ के जो लोग हैं, लोग का नहीं, वहाँ के पेड़ पौधों का, जितने भी जीव जंतु है उसका प्रोटेक्शन और एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन सब कुछ है। तो जो उन्होंने सर्प यज्ञ किया तो उसमें उनका ना प्रोटेक्शन हुआ ना वेलफेयर हुआ, तो वो कैसे धर्म हुआ? अगर अधर्म है तो फिर उसको हम एक पावरफुल और एक अच्छा राजा कैसे मानते? और दूसरा कि अगर अधर्म है तो जो वहाँ के ब्राह्मण में है वैसा यज्ञ किया ही थे।
His question is, as you mentioned that there are 3 duties of Kshatriya: protection, welfare and administration. So, as Maharaj Janamejaya did Sarpa Yajna, then the snakes are being killed there. So how, in which category this was, dharma or adharma? And if this was adharma, why did Brahmanas perform this yajna?
We have got good Brahmins growing up.
And also he said, if it is adharma, then how can Janamejaya be called as a good king and a protector and a welfare? Because a king's duty is to protect the vegetation, animals and everyone in his kingdom.
Yes. Naturally want to follow the principles of dharma because we have been trained for that. But this was a very unusual case for Janamejaya Maharaj. Kings are generally more or can come under passion, and in this case he went what we call beyond, and therefore the brahmanas had to intervene so that he not completely destroy. So yeah, how justified he was. See, sometimes due to passion, they will go beyond what we call it, the call of duty, and they will need to be, because kings will want to follow dharma, but sometimes they will need to be checked or corrected, as in the case here, they were checked. So the intention was proper, but he went beyond.
Not just an intention, but it was a science that this fire was started like Vishnu's mob, and then the most sinful persons could be purified only when they die in Vishnu's presence. So that is described in one of the places that I think in the Mahabharata also, that this yajna was correct in sense of the most sinful person, serpents, should be purified in this way. But when he kept it, because the Takshaka didn't came, because Indra protected him. When Indra started to fall into this victim, then the higher authority stopped this yajna, because it's too much. If you want to hurt Indra and other persons who are not so sinful, that's not correct. So in the middle of the program, they stopped the sacrifice. So there are two, like when Dhruva Maharaj was very angry because his brother was killed by Yakshas, and he went to kill that person because he had right to protect the dharma. But when he started to kill more and more Yakshas, he was stopped by Brahma. So the origin of this yajna was correct. Also, it's not usual that how to purify spirit souls. Sometimes it's
Actually, sometimes we start confusing between Kshatriya and Vaishnava. Kshatriya king has got some leniency given. They may be angry. They can be angry. So Janamejaya, in this case, he became actually angry, and he was not happy because he understood that his father was a dharmic personality, and such a personality, if before time gone, then Kali Yuga will come. Those things were there. So he was understanding that, and he was rightly angry on this because Parīkṣit Maharaj left, and this Kali Yuga was entering. It was just at that. So he did not want that a dharmic king like Parīkṣit Maharaj should be leaving so early, and he expressed his anger, which is allowed for a king. It's like when there is a need, they can exhibit certain things. I'll give you an example like Dakshata also. Why he was angry with Arjun? Because Arjun, when they were doing the in the process, when they were doing, Arjun has actually wiped out the whole forest, and in that forest so many snakes they have just burned because he burned it.
Yes.
And therefrom they had that grudge to Arjun and his family.
Right.
That was also there.
Yes.
So, but Kshatriyas have that, you can say, sanctioning. At the same time, they cannot go to the extreme, as Prabhu was mentioning, that once they are going to extreme, then Brahman's duty is to stop them. And those stories are there in Bhagavatam. That's why we read all these stories. When I'm forgetting that, when Brahmanas, they cursed the king of wind.
Okay, yeah.
They cursed that.
Yeah.
So Brahman that time came because the king was not following the Vedic knowledge, Vedic injunctions. So it's what your question is right, whether it is dharmic or adharmic. This is actually a very, very subtle thin line between what is dharma, what is adharma. Like if you see a snake coming in your property and you kill him, then as a kshatriya you have the right to kill him. And then there are more subtle things, that when the snake is killed, then he only elevates. That is also what I have heard. I have not found the actual resource, but I have heard from certain Brahman that a king, a snake has to not die but killed. Then he can go from. But I am just giving disclaimer that I have not had the report. Later when I find it, I'll give. But I can tell you one thing by studying quite many scriptures, that in the scriptures there are all these details, even small things are mentioned. So you can find, starting from marriage, from birth, from what goes, from this and that. So, to my limited understanding, Janamejaya, he remains a pious Rajrishi. That's why it is mentioned here. It's just that we are trying to see that if he is pious, then he has to take care. So certain times care may be differently. So his anger can also be understood, a particular fear that snake should also not become too much like what Takshak has done. He could have not done what he has done.
Yes.
So as a lesson, he went very extreme.
Yes.
The final answer.
He is a Rajrishi. He did a dharmic. This was a dharmic. Prabhupada replied already that it was done with a proper intention, but when it became extreme, then it is like
At some point it was dharmic, at one point it became adharmic.
Right. Like too much of passion came, then he said that okay, if Indra is trying to protect Takshak, then okay, let everybody. So that.
This is to be continued.
Very lively.
Right. So we will end for now. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Sri Prabhupada ki. Gaura Pimanandi.
Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharāja.
So we have devotees who are just now coming. You know these devotees? No, okay. You have another group, huh? Okay. So you can be a translator, because I think most of them are probably Bengali speaking. They're coming for, well, where's our Achyutananda Prabhu?
Coming.